The journey back to their shuttle felt different from their arrival. The ship's corridors were now fully lit, and they could see the true extent of human military engineering. Every surface was designed for war, every system built to keep fighting even under the worst conditions. Captain Park Jinho accompanied them personally, walking beside Commander Vexithara as their robot escort led the way. His presence was both reassuring and intimidating, a reminder that they were guests who could become prisoners or casualties with a single wrong word. "Captain," Dr. Yuna said as they walked, "may I ask you something personal?" "You may ask." "When you first woke up and found us aboard your ship, what was your first thought?" Jinho considered the question carefully. "That my ship was under attack by an unknown alien species, and I needed to neutralize the threat before calling for backup. But you didn't attack us." "No. My ship's AI analyzed your equipment and behavior patterns. You carried scientific instruments, not weapons. Your body language showed curiosity and fear, not aggressive intent. And most importantly, you tried to communicate rather than fight." Dr. Minho looked surprised. "You were evaluating us that quickly?" "Human military training emphasizes rapid threat assessment," Jinho explained. "We have 30 seconds to determine if unknown contacts are hostile, neutral, or potentially friendly. Mistakes in either direction can be fatal." "What if we had been carrying weapons?" Dr. Koren asked. "Then you would already be dead," Jinho replied matter-of-factly. "My ship has automated defense systems that can eliminate armed intruders in less than 10 seconds. The casual way he said it made the entire research team realize how close they had come to disaster. They had stumbled onto a warship belonging to a species that could have killed them before they even knew they were in danger. They reached the airlock where their shuttle was waiting. Through the windows they could see the eternal wisdom in the distance, keeping a respectful distance from the human vessel. "Before you go," Jinho said, "there's something you need to understand about the choice your consortium will have to make." He activated a wall display that showed a tactical view of local space. Dozens of red dots appeared on the star chart, marking locations throughout the galaxy. "These are active hostile civilizations," he explained. "Species that view peaceful cooperation as weakness and see the consortium as easy prey. There are so many," Dr. Hieri whispered. "These are just the ones we know about. There are probably others that haven't revealed themselves yet." Dr. Dohyun studied the display. "They're all around consortium space. How have we not encountered them?" "Because human patrol fleets have been quietly discouraging them from expanding in your direction," Jinho said. "For 50 years we've been fighting small wars to keep the galaxy's predators away from peaceful species like yours." "Why?" Vexthar asked. "Why protect us when we didn't even know you existed?" Jinho's expression softened slightly. "Because once we were like you. Before the Zephyrian attack, humans believed in peaceful exploration and scientific cooperation. We had art, music, literature, and dreams of a better future. And now we have survival, and the knowledge that someone has to stand guard while others dream." The weight of his words settled over the research team. They had discovered not just a powerful military force but a civilization that had sacrificed its peaceful nature to protect others. "The consortium has a choice," Jinho continued. "You can continue believing you live in a peaceful galaxy, protected by distance and luck. Or you can acknowledge that peace requires strength, and work with us to maintain the balance." "What would cooperation look like?" Vexthara asked, limited. "Humans prefer to remain in the shadows. But we could share some defensive technologies, provide early warning of hostile movements, and coordinate responses to major threats. And in return, you continue being what we used to be. Scientists, explorers, artists, dreamers. Someone has to remember what we're fighting to protect." Dr. Yuna stepped forward. "Captain, what you've shown us changes everything we thought we knew about the galaxy. But it also explains why the consortium has been able to maintain peace for so long. You're beginning to understand. The question is," Minho added, "can our people handle the truth? The knowledge that our peaceful existence depends on others fighting wars we never hear about?" "That's for your leaders to decide," Jinho said. "But remember, ignorance is also a choice. You can choose not to know, but that doesn't make the threats go away." As they prepared to board their shuttle, Dr. Koren had one final question. "Captain, do you think there will ever be true peace in the galaxy? A time when species like yours don't need to fight these hidden wars?" Jinho looked out at the stars through the airlock window. "Perhaps. When all the predator species are gone, when every civilization chooses cooperation over conquest, when the galaxy truly becomes safe for dreamers and scientists. How long might that take? Generations? Maybe centuries. But every peaceful day the consortium enjoys brings us a little closer to that goal. The research team boarded their shuttle, their minds reeling from everything they had learned. As the small craft moved away from the human warship, they could see the massive vessel's true form for the first time. It was beautiful in its deadly efficiency, a work of art designed for a purpose none of them had truly understood until now. What do we tell our people? Dr. Hieri asked as they flew back to the eternal wisdom. The truth, Vexithera decided. Some of it, anyway. We tell them we've made contact with a new species called humans. We tell them that humans are technologically advanced and prefer limited contact. And the military capabilities? Dohyun asked. We tell the Consortium Council privately. Let them decide how much the general population needs to know. As their shuttle docked with the research vessel, they could see the human warship beginning to move. Its engines created a brilliant blue glow that was almost hypnotic to watch. The ship accelerated smoothly and silently, disappearing into the darkness of space with grace that belied its deadly purpose. Captain Jinho's final message came through their communication system as the human ship vanished. Remember, the galaxy is not as peaceful as it appears, but as long as species like yours continue to dream of better worlds, species like mine will continue to guard the darkness. 6 months later, the consortium sent a diplomatic vessel to the coordinates Jinho had provided. The meeting that followed would establish a secret alliance that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. But that's another story. For now, the research team returned to consortium space carrying the knowledge that their peaceful civilization was protected by warriors they had never known existed. It was a sobering truth, but also a hopeful one. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, human ships continued their eternal patrol, keeping the galaxy's predators at bay, while peaceful species pursued their dreams of knowledge, art, and cooperation. The universe was vast and dangerous, but it was not without guardians. And sometimes, the best protection came from those who preferred to remain unseen. Captain Park Jinho stood up from his command chair and walked to the main tactical display. His movements were precise and controlled, like someone always ready for combat. The research team watched nervously as he called up star charts that showed human territory extending far beyond what the consortium had ever imagined. You want to understand humans, he said without turning around. Let me show you something. The display changed to show a peaceful-looking star system with several inhabited worlds, green planets with blue oceans, space stations, and civilian traffic moving between them. This was the Kepler 438 system, Jinho said. Human colony worlds, 3 billion people living peaceful lives, building families, creating art, exploring science. They thought they were safe. The image changed. Now the same system was shown under attack. Massive alien ships, unlike anything the consortium had ever seen, were destroying everything. Planets burned, space stations exploded, and the peaceful civilian traffic was gone. The Zephyrian Empire, Jinho continued, his voice cold. They arrived without warning, without negotiation, without mercy. They didn't want our resources or our territory. They wanted us dead because they considered humans an inferior species that shouldn't be allowed to exist. Dr. Yuna covered her mouth with her hand. All those people, 3 billion lives lost in 6 hours, Jinho confirmed. But the Zephyrians made one mistake. They left survivors on the outer worlds, survivors who sent warning messages to Earth. The display showed the aftermath of the attack, then switched to show human space mobilizing, hundreds of ships, all designed for war, moving with military precision toward the Zephyrian fleet. The consortium believes in defensive warfare, Jinho said, finally turning to face them. Protect your own worlds, negotiate when possible, minimize casualties. Noble ideas. But the Zephyrians had already proven they couldn't be negotiated with. What did you do? Commander Vexithara asked, though she was afraid of the answer. We showed them why humans survive, Jinho replied simply. The tactical display showed the human response to the Zephyrian attack. It wasn't like any military operation the consortium had ever developed. Instead of defensive positions and careful strategy, the human fleet moved like a pack of predators. Overwhelming force applied without hesitation, Dr. Minho said quietly. reading the tactical data. You didn't just fight them. You hunted them. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 47 star systems, Jinho said. Their fleet outnumbered ours 3-1. Their individual ships were larger and more heavily armed than ours. But you won, Dr. Dohyun said. We didn't just win, we ended them. The display showed the systematic destruction of the Zephyrian Empire. Human forces didn't just defeat enemy fleets. They tracked down every ship, every base, every outpost. Within 6 months, an empire that had existed for thousands of years was completely gone. Total warfare, Jinho explained. When someone proves they want to exterminate your species, you don't give them a second chance. Dr. Hyeri was studying the timeline of the conflict. Captain, this shows that the war ended over 50 years ago. What have humans been doing since then? Watching. Waiting. Making sure no other species makes the same mistake the Zephyrians did. Dr. Korin stepped closer to the display. But the consortium has been at peace for centuries. We've had minor conflicts, but nothing like what you're describing. Because we've been keeping the dangerous species away from you, Jinho said. The hegemony of Razak tried to expand toward consortium space 12 years ago. They never made it past our border patrols. You've been protecting us? Yuna asked. Protecting everyone. The consortium's peaceful nature is admirable, but it only works when the truly hostile species are kept at bay. Vexithara felt a chill as she realized the implications. How many species like the Zephyrians are out there? More than you want to know, Jinho replied. The galaxy is full of civilizations that see peace as weakness and cooperation as a sign that you're ready to be conquered. The communication panel beeped, and Jinho's robot assistant reported in Korean. The captain listened, then turned back to the research team. Your ship is requesting permission to approach and retrieve you, he said. I've been monitoring their communications. Your captain is very worried. Will you let them? Vexithara asked. That depends. What do you plan to do with the information you've learned here? The question hung in the air like a threat. They all knew they had discovered something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The humans clearly had the ability to destroy any threat, but they also had the discipline to remain hidden. The consortium needs to know that humans exist, Vexithara said carefully, but perhaps not everything about your capabilities. Jinho nodded approvingly. Wise. Too much information could cause panic. Or worse, it might make some species think they need to destroy humanity before we become a threat to them. Are you a threat to us? Dr. Minho asked directly. Only if you threaten us first, Jinho replied. Human military doctrine is simple. Leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. But attack human civilians and we'll end your entire civilization. That's harsh, Korin said. That's survival, Jinho corrected. The Zephyrians taught us that some enemies can't be reasoned with. The only way to ensure they never hurt innocent people again is to make sure they can't hurt anyone. Dr. Dohyun was studying the technical readouts from the ship's systems. Captain, your vessel's capabilities are incredible. A single ship like this could probably defeat our entire research fleet. Probably, Jinho agreed without bragging. But remember, this is just a patrol vessel. We have much larger ships for serious conflicts. The implication was clear. If this incredibly powerful warship was considered a small patrol craft, then human military capabilities were beyond anything the consortium could imagine. We have a choice to make, Vexithara said to her team. Do we report this contact or do we keep it secret? The consortium council needs to know that humans exist, Yeri said, but maybe not about the extent of their military power. Agreed, Jinho said. Limited contact might be beneficial for both our peoples, but any attempt to study human military technology without permission will be considered an act of war. Understood, Vexithara replied. Jinho walked back to his command chair. I'm going to allow your ship to retrieve you. You'll be escorted to the edge of human space and released. In 6 months, if the consortium wishes to establish formal diplomatic contact, you may send a single unarmed vessel to these coordinates. He transmitted a set of star chart locations to their portable computers. What happens if we don't? Yuna asked. Then we'll continue protecting the galaxy from species too dangerous for the consortium to handle, and you'll continue believing you live in a peaceful universe. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Minho had one final question. Captain, are there other species like humans out there? Other civilizations with this level of military capability? Jinho's expression grew grim. Yes, and if you're very lucky, you'll never meet them. The robot escort arrived to take them back to their shuttle, As they left the command center, they could hear Jinho giving orders in Korean to his ship's systems. "What's he doing?" Korin asked Yuna, who could understand some of the language. "Preparing to leave," she replied, "and sending a message to human command about our encounter." They had wanted to study a human warship. Instead, they had discovered that humanity was a sleeping giant that could reshape the galaxy if awakened. The question now was whether the consortium was wise enough to leave it sleeping. The massive robot guard kept its glowing red eyes fixed on the research team, while mechanical sounds echoed from deeper in the ship. Someone was definitely awake now, and they were taking control of all the ship's systems. "Try again with the translator," Commander Vexthara whispered to Dr. Hyeri. Hyeri activated her device and spoke slowly. "We are scientists from the Galactic Research Consortium. We found your ship and came aboard to learn about your people. We mean no harm." The robot listened, its head tilting slightly as it processed the words. Then it spoke in return, and the translation came through much clearer this time. "You have trespassed on a military vessel of the Human Defense Fleet. State your species and your intent, or face immediate termination." "Human," Dr. Yuna repeated softly. "So that's what they call themselves." "Defense Fleet," Dr. Minho added, his voice worried. "This is definitely a warship." Vexthara stepped forward carefully. "We are a peaceful research expedition. We represent 12 different species working together to explore and learn. We did not know this was your territory." The robot was silent for a long moment, apparently receiving instructions from its commander. When it spoke again, its words sent chills through the entire team. "Unknown species claiming peaceful intent. No record of authorized contact with human space. Analyzing potential threat level." Dr. Dohyun was watching his scanners nervously. "Commander, I'm detecting massive data processing. This ship is scanning our research vessel and cross-referencing everything against some kind of military database. They're trying to determine if we're dangerous," Minho said. The robot spoke again. "Your vessel shows no significant weapons. Your species appear to lack advanced military technology. Threat assessment minimal. However, you have accessed classified human military data without authorization. What does that mean?" Dr. Korin asked quietly. They found out when the robot led them deeper into the ship. The corridors were now fully lit and buzzing with activity. Automated systems hummed behind the walls, and they could see other robots moving through distant passages. "This way," the robot commanded. "The captain will decide your fate." As they walked, Dr. Yuna noticed details about the ship's construction that had been hidden in the dim emergency lighting. Everything was built for efficiency and durability. The walls could probably withstand direct hits from heavy weapons. The floor was designed for people to run without slipping, even in combat conditions. "Look at these access panels," Do-Hyun whispered. "They're all designed for quick repairs during battle. This ship expects to take damage and keep fighting." They passed what was clearly an armory. Through the open door, they could see weapons that made consortium military equipment look like toys. Energy rifles that could probably punch through heavy armor, explosives that could level buildings, and armor suits that would make their wearers nearly invulnerable. "By the ancestors," Minho breathed. "These humans don't just fight wars. They prepare to win them completely." The robot led them to what appeared to be a central command center. Banks of displays showed tactical information, star charts, and weapon status reports. Everything was organized for quick decision-making during combat. "Wait here," the robot ordered, then moved to a communication panel. While they waited, the team could study the information displayed around them. What they saw made them understand just how different human civilization was from anything in the consortium. "Look at these tactical files," Minho said, pointing to one display. "They're battle reports from something called the Sol Defense Wars." The screen showed detailed accounts of space battles, but not the kind of careful defensive conflicts the consortium was used to. These were brutal, efficient campaigns designed to destroy enemies as quickly as possible. "This battle report," Yuna said, reading over his shoulder. "They faced an invasion force of over 300 ships and destroyed them all in less than 6 hours. How is that possible?" Korin asked. Dr. Hyeri was studying another display. "Their tactics are completely different from ours. Look at this strategy file. Instead of trying to minimize damage and negotiate peace, they focus on breaking enemy morale through overwhelming force." The files showed human fleet movements that were unlike anything the consortium had ever developed. Instead of defensive formations designed to protect civilian populations, Human military doctrine focused on taking the fight directly to the enemy. Preemptive strikes. Minho read from another report. They don't wait to be attacked. They identify threats and eliminate them before they become dangerous. This is why we've never heard of them, Vexthera realized. They don't want to be known. They stay hidden and watch for threats. Do-hyun was examining technical specifications for human weapons. Commander, these energy output readings are impossible. Their smallest ship-mounted weapons have more power than our main research vessel's entire energy grid. And look at this, Yuna added, pointing to a ship design display. They don't build exploration vessels or research ships. Every design in their database is military. Even their cargo ships have weapon systems. The robot returned and gestured for them to follow. The captain will see you now. They were led to a smaller room filled with communication equipment and tactical displays. At the center sat a single chair facing multiple screens. As they entered, the chair turned around to reveal their first look at a living human. Captain Park Jin-ho was not what they had expected. He was roughly the same size as Dr. Yuna's species, but there was something about him that immediately suggested danger. His eyes were alert and calculating, studying each member of the research team as if evaluating them as potential threats. So, he said in accented but understandable consortium standard language, you claim to be peaceful researchers. Yes, Captain, Vexthara replied carefully. We represent the Galactic Research Consortium. We've never encountered your species before. Jinho's expression didn't change. That's because we choose when and how to make contact. You've stumbled onto a classified military vessel in restricted space. We didn't know, Yeri said quickly. Our star charts show this area as unexplored. Your star charts are incomplete, Jinho replied. Human space extends much further than your consortium realizes. We've been watching your expansion for decades. Watching us? Korin asked, evaluating whether you represent a threat to human colonies. So far you've shown little interest in conquest, so we've left you alone. Minho stepped forward. Captain, we've seen your military files. Your people are incredibly advanced. Why haven't you made contact with the consortium? We could benefit from each other's knowledge. Jinho studied him for a long moment. Dr. Minho, isn't it? Military analyst? When Minho nodded in surprise, Jinho continued. We've been monitoring your communications since you boarded. Your reaction to our tactical databases tells me everything I need to know about consortium military capabilities. You're afraid we'd be frightened by your power, Vexthera said, understanding. No, Jinho replied calmly. We're afraid you'd make us use it. The room fell silent as the implications of his words sank in. The humans weren't hiding because they were weak. They were hiding because they were too strong, and they knew what would happen if the galaxy discovered their true capabilities. The consortium represents peace through cooperation, Jinho continued. Admirable. But that peace exists only because no truly dangerous species has challenged it yet. If hostile aliens ever threaten consortium worlds, you'll discover how inadequate your defensive strategies really are. And then, Yuna asked quietly. Then you'll understand why humans prefer to remain hidden, Jinho said, until we're needed. The ship began to change around them. What had been dim emergency lighting suddenly blazed to full brightness. The humming grew louder and more complex, like a massive machine coming to life after a long sleep. Everyone stay calm, Commander Vexthera ordered, but her own voice showed the fear they all felt. Dr. Do-hyun was frantically checking his instruments. The ship's power levels are increasing rapidly. Every system is coming online. Can we get back to the shuttle? Dr. Yuna asked. Minho tried the door they had entered through, but it wouldn't respond. The exit is sealed. We're trapped. The central computer console in front of them began showing new information. Symbols raced across the displays, and mechanical sounds echoed through the corridors outside. Whatever they had awakened, it was spreading throughout the entire ship. This was a mistake, Dr. Korin said, backing away from the console. We should never have touched their systems. A new sound joined the humming, a voice speaking in a language none of them recognized. The words were sharp and aggressive, delivered in short bursts like military commands. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, speaking through the ship's communication system. Hieri, can you understand any of it? Vexthera asked. The language expert was working frantically with her translation equipment. It's unlike anything in our databases. The structure is completely foreign. But there are patterns. I think it's demanding something. The voice spoke again, louder this time, and the ship's lights flickered in rhythm with the words. Then came a sound that made everyone freeze, the unmistakable whine of weapons charging. "Those are energy cannons," Minho said, his military training recognizing the sound. "Big ones. This ship is preparing to fight." "Fight who?" Yuna asked. "There's nothing out here but our research vessel." The answer came quickly. Through the nearest window they could see their shuttle moving away from the alien ship. But it wasn't flying under its own power. It was being pushed away by some kind of energy field. "The ship is protecting itself," Do-hyun realized. "It thinks we're a threat." The voice spoke again, and this time there was no mistaking the tone. It was a warning, delivered with the cold efficiency of a machine designed for war. The ship was giving them one chance to identify themselves before taking action. "Hieri, try to respond," Vexithara ordered. "Use the universal translator. Tell it we're peaceful researchers." Hieri activated her communication device and spoke slowly in the standard consortium greeting. "We are peaceful explorers. We mean no harm." The ship fell silent for a moment. Then the voice returned, speaking faster and with obvious irritation. The lights began flashing in a pattern that looked almost like an alarm. "I don't think it understood," Hieri said. "Or maybe it did understand and doesn't care." New sounds echoed through the ship. The sound of heavy machinery moving, systems activating, and what sounded like footsteps in the corridors. But there were no life signs on their scanners. "Automated systems," Minho said grimly. "This ship has robotic defenders." The main display screen changed, showing a view of their research vessel Eternal Wisdom. But now they could see weapon systems on the alien ship targeting their friends. Dozens of energy cannons were tracking the consortium vessel's movement. "It's going to destroy our ship," Corin whispered. "No," Do-hyun said, studying the targeting display. "Look at the power levels. It's not charging for a killing shot. It's warning them away." He was right. The alien ship fired a single energy beam that passed just in front of the Eternal Wisdom. The message was clear: leave immediately or face destruction. Through their communication equipment, they could hear their captain trying to contact them. "Boarding team, respond immediately. We're showing massive weapons lock from the alien vessel." Vexthara tried to reply, but their communications were being blocked. The alien ship wasn't letting any signals through its hull. "We're cut off," she said. "Our ship will have to make a choice, retreat and abandon us or stay and risk being destroyed." The voice from the ship's speaker spoke again, and this time there were new sounds with it. Mechanical footsteps in the corridors getting closer. Whatever security systems the ship had, they were coming to investigate the intruders. "Options?" Vexithara asked quickly. "The door won't open," Minho reported. "We're sealed in here." "Can we damage the computer systems?" Corin suggested. "Bad idea," Do-hyun said. "If we attack their technology, the ship will definitely see us as hostile." Yuna was studying the console that had started all this trouble. "Wait, look at this display. I think the ship is trying to wake someone up." The screen showed what appeared to be a ship's diagram. One section was flashing, marked with symbols that suggested some kind of sleeping area. As they watched, the display showed systems activating in that section. "There's someone aboard this ship," Yuna said. "Someone alive. The ship is waking them up." "The crew?" Hieri asked. "Or maybe just one person. The area is small, like a single room." The mechanical footsteps in the corridors were getting closer. They could hear the whir of servos and the click of metal on metal. Whatever was coming, it wasn't biological. "Defensive robots," Minho said, military grade from the sound of them. "How long before they reach us?" Vexthara asked. 2 minutes, maybe less." The ship's voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different. Less automatic, more intelligent. As if something with actual thought was now controlling the communication system. "The crew member is awake," Do-hyun said, watching the displays. "Someone's taking direct control of the ship." "That's good, right?" Corin asked hopefully. "If there's a living person, we can try to communicate. Or they'll order the robots to kill us immediately," Minho replied grimly. The footsteps stopped just outside their door. They could hear mechanical sounds as something large and metallic positioned itself in the corridor. Then came a new sound, something like electronic beeping. "It's scanning us," Yuna said, "probably trying to determine if we're armed." The beeping stopped. For a long moment, everything was quiet. Then the ship's voice spoke again, but now it was clearly coming from a living throat rather than a computer system. The tone was different, alert, suspicious, and very much awake. "That's not a machine," Hieri said. "That's someone talking. Can you understand what they're saying?" Not yet, but the pattern is different. More natural. It's definitely a biological intelligence. The voice spoke several times, asking what sounded like questions. When they didn't respond in the same language, the tone became more demanding. I think they want to know who we are and how we got aboard here, he said. Try the universal translator again, Vexthara ordered. But before Harry could speak, the door suddenly opened. Standing in the corridor was something that made them all step backward in shock. It was clearly a machine, but designed to look like the two-legged creatures they had seen on the displays. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark metal armor, with glowing red sensors where eyes should be. The robot spoke in the same voice they had been hearing, but now they could see that it was translating for someone else. Somewhere on this ship, the real crew member was awake and giving orders through this mechanical guardian. Peaceful, Vexthara said quickly, raising her hands to show she was unarmed. We are peaceful researchers. The robot studied them with those glowing red eyes, recording everything. Then it spoke again, and this time the translation software picked up a few words: identify, purpose, vessel, trespass. The crew member was asking who they were and why they had boarded the ship without permission. This is our chance, Vexthara whispered to her team. First contact with a new species. But looking at the massive robot and thinking about all the weapons this ship carried, she wondered if this contact would be their last. The boarding shuttle moved carefully toward the alien vessel. Commander Vexthara led a team of 8 researchers, each representing different species and specialties. They wore full environmental suits and carried only scientific equipment. If this first contact went wrong, they wanted to show peaceful intentions. Docking successful, reported the shuttle pilot. The alien ship's port system seemed to recognize our approach. The airlock is cycling automatically. Dr. Corrin checked his instruments nervously. The atmosphere inside reads as breathable for most of our species. Temperature is comfortable, but I'm detecting some unusual energy patterns. They stepped through the airlock and into a corridor that felt immediately wrong. The ceiling was too low, the walls too close together. Everything was designed for creatures about their size, but the space felt compressed, efficient, military. This isn't a research vessel, Dr. Minho whispered. Look at these walls. They're built to withstand combat damage. The corridor was lit by strips of cold white light that created harsh shadows. The floor was covered with some kind of textured material that would provide good grip during rapid movement. Even the air recycling system sounded different, more powerful, more urgent than the gentle systems used on consortium ships. Dr. Yuna ran her scanner along the walls. The construction material is incredible. It's at least 10 times stronger than anything we use, but somehow lighter. Whoever built this has technology we can barely understand. They moved deeper into the ship, following signs and symbols that made no sense. The writing was angular and aggressive, just like everything else about the vessel. Dr. Hyeri tried to record examples for later translation, but the symbols seemed to shift slightly when she wasn't looking directly at them. Here, Dr. Do-hyun called from ahead. This looks like some kind of central computer core. The room they entered was larger than the corridors, but still felt cramped compared to consortium ship designs. Banks of unknown technology lined the walls, humming with power. In the center was what appeared to be a main control station. Be careful, Vexthara warned. We don't know what might happen if we touch anything. But Yuna was already approaching the central console with her scanner. Commander, I think this is their main database. If we can access it, we might learn about the species that built this ship. The console was covered with symbols and what looked like hand-sized panels. Some areas glowed softly while others remained dark. It was clearly designed for creatures with hands similar to theirs, but the layout was completely foreign. I'm detecting massive data storage, Corrin reported. This system contains more information than our entire research library. Yuna carefully placed her hand on one of the glowing panels. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire console came alive with light and sound. Symbols raced across displays faster than they could follow. What did you do? Minho asked, backing toward the exit. I don't know. I just touched it. The main display screen flickered and then showed an image that made everyone freeze. It was a planet, blue and green and beautiful, covered with clouds and continents. The world looked peaceful, almost like a paradise. That must be their home world, Hyeri said softly. But the image changed. Now they saw creatures moving on the planet's surface. They walked upright on two legs, had two arms, and faces that looked almost familiar. But there was something about them that seemed dangerous, predatory. They look almost like my species, Una said, studying the figures. But different, more intense. The display showed more images. Cities that stretched to the horizon, filled with millions of the two-legged creatures. Technology that was clearly advanced but had a hard military edge to everything. Then the images changed again and the research team saw something that made their blood run cold. Space battles. Massive fleets of ships like the one they were standing in, fighting against vessels they didn't recognize. The alien ships, these creatures' ships, were tearing through enemy fleets with terrifying efficiency. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as entire civilizations fell before these predators. By the Great Mother, Vexthara whispered. They're warriors, the images kept coming. More battles, more victories, more destruction. These creatures didn't just fight, they dominated. Every battle shown on the display ended the same way. Complete destruction of their enemies and total victory for the two-legged species. Look at their tactics, Minho said, his voice shaking. They don't just defeat their enemies. They break them completely. This isn't warfare, it's extermination. Dr. Dohyun was studying the technical details shown in the battle footage. Commander, their weapons technology is centuries ahead of ours. Those energy beams can cut through shields like they're not even there, and their ships are so fast and maneuverable. Are you recording all of this? Vexthara asked. Yes, but I'm not sure we should be, Yeri replied. If this species is still active and if they find out we've been studying their ship, the display suddenly changed again. Now it showed star maps with routes marked between different systems. The team could see the spread of this species across the galaxy. Dozens of systems, hundreds of worlds, all under the control of these two-legged warriors. They have an empire, Corin said quietly. A huge one, and we've never heard of them. That's impossible, Una said. The consortium has contact with every major civilization in this part of the galaxy. Maybe they don't want contact, Minho suggested. Maybe they prefer to remain hidden until they're ready to strike. The computer continued showing information, but now the team could see technical specifications for weapons, ship designs, and military strategies. Everything was focused on one goal: winning wars as quickly and completely as possible. This changes everything, Vexthara said. If this species exists, if they're still out there, then the consortium needs to know immediately. Wait, Una said, pointing at the display. Look at this. The screen was showing what appeared to be a timeline. The team could see the expansion of the alien empire, the battles they had fought and the worlds they had conquered. But the timeline seemed to end abruptly. The last entries are old, Yeri noted. Decades old, maybe longer? What does that mean? Dohyun asked. Maybe they're not active anymore, Corin suggested hopefully. Maybe something happened to them. But even as he said it, they could all feel the ship around them humming with power. This vessel was definitely not dead. It was waiting, ready, like a sleeping predator that could wake up at any moment. We need more information, Vexthara decided, but carefully. We can't afford to trigger any defensive systems. As if responding to her words, the ship's light suddenly dimmed and then brightened again. The humming sound they had heard earlier returned, coming from the walls themselves. Commander, Minho said urgently, I think we just activated something we shouldn't have. The massive research ship Eternal Wisdom moved slowly through the empty space near Kepler 442. Its sensors swept back and forth looking for anything unusual. Commander Vexthara stood on the bridge, her forearms crossed as she watched the displays. The Zilithian had been exploring space for over 200 years, but today felt different. Commander, called Dr. Corin from his station. The small, gray-skinned scientist's eyes were wide with excitement. We're picking up an energy signature. It's unlike anything in our databases. Vexthara walked over to look at the readings. The energy pattern was strange, almost alive. It pulsed in a rhythm that seemed too organized to be natural. How far away? About 3 million kilometers. The object appears to be drifting, but the energy readings are getting stronger. The bridge fell quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Representatives from 12 different species worked together on this research mission. They had been searching for new technology and lost civilizations for months without finding anything interesting. Now they might have discovered something important. Dr. Una, what do you think? Vexthara asked the human-looking woman at the biology station. Yuna's species, the Koreans, had joined the Galactic Research Consortium only 50 years ago. They were good scientists but still new to deep space exploration. Yuna studied her instruments carefully. The energy pattern is definitely artificial. Something built this, but I can't identify what kind of life form would create technology like this. Dr. Minho, another Korean scientist, looked up from his military analysis station. Commander, I recommend caution. These energy readings show weapon-grade power systems. This might not be a peaceful vessel. Vexithara nodded. The Galactic Consortium had rules about first contact with unknown species. They had to be careful, but they also had to investigate. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. Take us closer, but keep our shields up, she ordered. All departments prepare for detailed scans. As the Eternal Wisdom moved toward the mysterious object, more details became clear. The ship was huge, almost as large as their own research vessel. Its hull was dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange markings covered the surface, and they appeared to shift and change when looked at directly. Those symbols, whispered Dr. Hieri, the team's language expert. They're not like any writing system we know. The patterns seemed to move. The alien ship hung in space like a sleeping predator. Its design was unlike anything the consortium had ever seen. Most civilized species built their ships with smooth curves and peaceful lines. This vessel was all sharp angles and aggressive shapes. Every part of it seemed designed to intimidate. Life signs? Vexthara asked. None that I can detect, Yuna replied. But the ship's interior is shielded. There could be life forms inside using technology we don't understand. Dr. Dohyun, the team's engineer, was studying the ship's construction. Commander, this vessel uses materials we've never seen before. The hull appears to be some kind of adaptive metal. And those weapon ports, he paused, looking worried. This ship was built for war. The research team continued their scans for 2 hours. The more they learned, the more mysterious the vessel became. It was clearly from an advanced civilization, but one that seemed focused on military power rather than scientific exploration. Commander, Corin called out suddenly. The ship's energy readings just changed. Something's happening. Everyone watched their instruments as the alien vessel began to show signs of activity. Lights appeared along its hull, creating patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. The energy signature grew stronger and more complex. Are we being scanned? Vexthara asked. Yes, but not with any technology I recognize, Dohyun replied. Whatever they're using goes right through our shields like they're not even there. A low sound began to fill the bridge of the Eternal Wisdom. It wasn't coming through their communication systems. Instead, it seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull itself, a deep humming that made everyone feel uneasy. How is that possible? Yuna asked. Sound can't travel through space. It's not sound, Minho said, checking his readings. It's some kind of energy wave that's making our hull vibrate. The frequency is designed to create fear responses in most known species. The humming grew louder and more complex. It was like listening to a giant predator growl. Even though they were in the vacuum of space, several crew members stepped back from their stations, their natural fear responses kicking in. This is a warning, Vexithara said quietly. Whatever built this ship, they're telling us to stay away. But the research team had come too far to give up now. The alien vessel was the most advanced technology they had ever encountered. If they could study it, they might learn things that would advance consortium science by centuries. Commander, Hieri said, I think I'm detecting a pattern in that sound. It might be some kind of language. Can you translate it? Not yet, but the universal translator is trying to find common elements. Give me a few more minutes. As they watched, the alien ship's lights grew brighter. Weapon ports that had been hidden began to open along its hull. The vessel was clearly capable of incredible destruction, but it wasn't attacking. It seemed to be waiting. Commander, Corin said, I'm reading what might be docking ports along the ship's lower section. If we're careful, we might be able to board safely. Vexithara thought about their options. They could retreat and report the discovery to Consortium Command. But by the time a military escort arrived, the alien ship might be gone. This was their chance to make first contact with a new species. Prepare a boarding party, she decided. Full protective equipment and peaceful intentions. We'll try to communicate. The humming from the alien ship suddenly stopped. The silence felt even more threatening than the sound had been. Whatever was controlling that vessel, it was aware of them and making decisions. Commander, Yuna said quietly, I have a feeling we're about to discover something that will change everything we know about the galaxy. The research ship Eternal Wisdom moved closer to the mysterious vessel, carrying 12 species toward an encounter that none of them were prepared for.